It's not anywhere near uh, well, if you go back to the Wall Street mantra of greed is good. Um, to an extent, greed is good if greed means you can make the pie bigger. Greed's not good if it just has this narrow focus on only care about the shareholder, forget about everybody else. And it just doesn't make good business sense. Anyone that's practicing value-based management is going to tell you you can't ignore the customers. You can't ignore your employees. You can't ignore the community you're in. If you do that, the shareholders are going to lose too. So you have to really consider not only making money, but how you make the money. The cultural mindset has to change from this pure view of shareholder supremacy to one of let's add value to the company, and how do we go about adding value? Can we do it in a socially responsible way? And it ends up that doing things in a socially responsible way make business sense. It's not philanthropy per se, it actually makes sense. I can give you some just anecdotal type situations. If you go back to 2003 and in Augusta, where the Masters golf tournament is played, the club decided that they were going to exclude women. Now, whether or not you think that's good or not good, it caused quite a bit of an uproar. Certainly a lot of women's groups were boycotting, and it went from bad to worse. The Ku Klux Klan decided to show up to promote this somewhat backwards thinking. Then you take a contra view, or a contra way of doing it. In the PGA, the Colonial, B of A was the sponsor, and not only did they allow women, they had Annika Sorensen participate. And what that did is it got tremendous interest. B of A looked like, out there in the forefront. So, sometimes just doing things in a socially responsible way make good business sense. Several other ways or reasons that it makes sense. Certainly in the HR department. People nowadays, students that are entering the workforce, actually more than just students that are entering the workforce, it's no longer just, can I make a lot of money? They're starting to question, well, do I want to work for this firm? Do I agree with their ideals, their culture? If you want to get the best and the brightest, you have to be on the forefront of social responsibility. So as a retention, as a recruiting tool. Secondly, brand recognition. If you shop at some places like, say, Whole Foods, you certainly don't go there because it's cheaper. A lot of people shop at places like that because they agree with their philosophies. The Ben & Jerry's or the Body Shops. So it's a way to differentiate a product in a somewhat crowded market. Another thing that's probably, I don't know if it would be considered the top reason, but certainly a reason would be the whole area of risk management, which we're hearing a lot of nowadays. Take another example of conflicting ways of doing things. You have BP, which the real name is British Petroleum, but they've tried to evolve from that moniker of petroleum, so it's now beyond petroleum. But they've done a lot of things to put themselves in at least the view of being a socially responsible company. They've invested in alternate energies, things like that. Where you have the other side, you have the Exxon Mobils of the world, which are probably known to be not quite as much on the forefront. Well, BP's done a few things such as leaks in their pipelines, big fires in some of their refineries, which were really attributed to bad management. Actually some Enron type things with manipulating some markets. However, they were looked at as a good firm that made mistakes. Okay, we can take two examples again of big boxes. Now, Target on one hand is certainly known to be a socially responsible company. They're on the list of best places to work for. They give a fair amount of money, actually a large amount of money, to local communities. They do all the things that portray them to be on the forefront of social responsibility. Then you have Walmart that until recently, and I'll talk a little bit about how things have changed recently, has been known as just the opposite. Purely in it for the money, didn't really care about where they source things or didn't appear to care about it. certainly have all sorts of problems with the employee relations or have had in the past. Not really the sort of things that you want as your reputation. Also, part of the reputation was when they come into a community, the community's not better off because all their smaller companies are hurt. Where Target does as much as they can to keep things good for everybody. So when you come, or both again, companies are trying to get into locations. Which one has more success? Well, you probably don't hear too much of a Target being fought by the community, and you don't too often hear about a Walmart being courted to come into a company. Now things are changing. Now whether or not you consider this purely a case where Walmart sees the writing on the wall and they're looking at it purely as, we got to change things, or whether they truly believe it, that's hard to question or hard to know the answer to. But things are changing. Currently, they're having all of their supply chains go through and say all the things that they do, responsible for all the things they don't, give it more of a scorecard. They're building some of their super centers in very environmentally friendly ways. They're selling organic products. They're doing all the things they can now to change their image. Now, is this a case where they really believe this is the right thing to do, or do they believe this is something that is good for their business? That's hard to say, but it's certainly, we're seeing it happen. So given that we have to think that they're a pretty smart company, it must make sense for businesses to do this sort of thing. So those are just a couple examples of how CSR, corporate social responsibility, makes business sense. So it should not be looked at as a competition with value-based management. An enlightened company is going to look at this as, how can I use corporate social responsibility, do the right thing in order to actually do better in the financial picture? Something what we would call the virtuous cycle. In order to do good, you have to do well. In order to do well, you have to do good. What we mean by that is you can't do all these sort of things if you don't make money. Certainly making money is important. You can't pay your employees, you can't pay your suppliers, you can't offer a good product if you don't make money. However, if you do good, meaning you're socially responsible, that can help you to do well, which again feeds into being able to do good. So it goes around and around and it just feeds on itself.